What if I told you that the only reason you feel addicted to porn is because you unknowingly brainwashed yourself into becoming addicted to it, and you can actually reprogram your mind to get to a point where you're not addicted to porn at all and you can just move on from it as if you never encountered it in the first place. In this video, I'm going to show you all of the myths that you've probably heard from your efforts to quit porn that ended up brainwashing you into becoming addicted, and how by unlearning these myths, you can get to a point where quitting porn is easy, simple, fun, and natural. I personally struggled to quit porn for like 4 years. I was just repeatedly gooning, and I kept on relapsing even though I claimed to be on NoFap, right? And all of this changed the moment I realized all of the lies I've been sold, all of the ways I've been brainwashed. And when I was able to take back control of my mind, I quit in literally the matter of a month. And I'm hoping to show you how you can do the exact same thing and get over your addiction. So this is the list of the most destructive lies that you've been fed that are keeping you addicted to porn and unable to quit. Now, most of these lies have been given to you from communities such as NoFap and other places that are trying to help you quit porn. And ironically, even though they have good intentions and they want you to get over your addiction, the things that they're telling you, they're totally false, and they actually make it harder for you to quit. And I'm going to be showing you why all of these things here are lies and not true, and how they're making it harder for you to actually quit. So let's start with the first one, which is, since watching porn has so many consequences, I couldn't actively be choosing to watch it because of how destructive it is. Like, no rational person would do something that has so many consequences and downsides. But I want to show you how that isn't actually true. The simplest way is just think about people who do extreme sports, such as like snowboarding or like motorcycle racing, right? So these sports, they're extremely dangerous and risky. People die, get paralyzed, or severely injured all the time, yet they still continue doing this, and they're extremely passionate, extremely interested in doing these things. And why is that? And it's simply because regardless of the consequences and high costs, they still think it's worth it for whatever benefits or whatever pleasure they see in it. Now, that makes a lot of sense with like motorcycling or like snowboarding, right? So these people get so much like thrill and exhilaration from doing these activities that they're willing to take the risks of the severe consequences. But when it comes to porn, people don't actually want to admit that they're doing it for some type of pleasure or enjoyment. And this enjoyment literally outweighs all of the destructive consequences that make you feel so like depressed and defeated after you watch porn. And I'm going to show you why you actually want to watch porn for actual benefits you see in it, which is actually going into my next point. So yeah, porn is actually enjoyable. The only reason you'd watch porn is because you believe it's enjoyable. And to simply put it this way, like, when you believe you're addicted to something, you kind of shut off your ability to choose whether or not you want to do something based on how much pleasure or happiness it will give you. When you're addicted to something, you just feel forced to do it, regardless of whether or not you enjoy it or not. Because if porn wasn't enjoyable, then if you decided to abstain from porn and just not watch it at all, you would feel pretty much the same. You would still feel in your normal, natural state. But however, in your past attempts to quit, you obviously felt deprived. You felt like something was missing. You felt like a big pleasure from your life was gone, right? And that's exactly the reason you get urges, is because you find some type of pleasure, some type of enjoyment in porn. You really have to think about that. Like, if porn did nothing for you, then you would have just quit and moved on. You would never end up wanting to go back to watching porn. Because if something provides you some type of enjoyment, happiness, or pleasure, then not doing it will make you feel some type of like discomfort, like you're losing something that you still depend on. And that's exactly the feeling you get when you try abstaining from porn. And that's also the reason why you watch it in the first place, because there's actually something in it, some benefit. So going back to like the people who are snowboarding or motorcycle racing, those people, they see some type of enjoyment in their activity, which motivates them to do it. And this enjoyment literally outweighs the consequences of that activity. And it's the exact same with porn. We have these conceptualized benefits about porn, about what it can do for us. And those things make us want it in particular scenarios. And even regardless of the consequences of porn, the benefits we see in it are still making it so much more irresistible and more valuable than the costs would make it unappealing. So overall, right, you only want to continue watching porn because it does give you some type of pleasure, some happiness. And like I said, this isn't unavoidable. You can always rethink the benefits, the value porn gives to you. And this is a lot easier once you break down the idea of being addicted, which I will get into later. And the next thing we have is, yeah, porn is irresistible. So like NoFap and all these other communities, they make you believe that porn is like this hyper stimulus that like once you watch it one time, you're gonna be hooked and you can never get off of it. And this is extremely silly, and I'm gonna show you why. Because like nowadays, literally everyone has been exposed to porn, right? It's pretty much everywhere on the internet. Anyone who has connection to the internet, any type of cellular device, has definitely seen some type of pornographic material before. And if that's the case, then wouldn't everyone be addicted to porn? No, everyone isn't addicted to porn. Like, I'm sure your friends also have watched it too, but they themselves aren't addicted either. And why is that? Well, it's because porn, there's nothing objectively irresistible about it, right? The only people who end up getting addicted to porn are the ones who believe with their own mind that it is irresistible. And then using all of this like mental like exaggeration, this pedestalization of porn, it basically is just a placebo effect, and they truly believe that porn is this awesome thing. And when they end up watching it, they just project this conception of porn onto the porn itself. And it creates like this feedback loop that reinforces the belief that porn is irresistible. So if we go back to what I was saying before, the people who don't end up getting addicted to porn just never thought in the first place that it was irresistible. Maybe they thought that it's a little bit enjoyable, but it's nothing special. It's just like another activity they could be doing. And due to that perception of it, they don't actually become so attached to it. They don't pedestalize it. And like I said, if you still believe that it's irresistible, you can change this. It's simply just a belief. Through repetition and trying new experiences and experimenting, you can also come to the conclusion that porn really isn't that special, and it's just another random activity you could be doing. And another thing, the fourth thing, is that people want to give up the responsibility that they're the one that is making themselves watch porn, that it's their fault that they're choosing to watch porn. Instead, they try to project it onto an addiction or like this modern world that, you know, pushes porn to the youth. All of these things just to forego their own responsibility. And the issue with foregoing your responsibility for watching porn is that now you're totally out of control, right? It's not your choice to watch porn anymore, because now you feel as if some external force like an addiction or an urge is forcing you to watch porn. And as a result, you really just don't want to admit, you don't want to face the reality that you're doing something so embarrassing like watching porn, because like as society as a whole, we perceive porn as like this really like embarrassing, kind of like sensitive, very unappealing type of activity to engage in. And you don't want to like take accountability that, yeah, I'm choosing to do this deliberately by choice because I want to see porn as pleasurable. Instead, you want to blame it on an addiction or the internet exposing you to it at a young age, which is simply just foregoing your own responsibility of your choice to watch porn, right? And you have to remember that if you aren't the one in control of watching porn, then you won't be able to stop, because you won't be able to make a different choice. And the final thing we have is the idea of an urge. So people think that like you get urges for porn out of nowhere. They're absolutely unpredictable, you can't control them, and that they just spontaneously force you to seek out porn. And I want to tell you that this is actually wrong. The reason we have urges is because in a particular moment, we see watching porn as something that's good, something that would make us happier in a particular moment. Because maybe you don't consciously agree with this, but your brain still believes that porn will provide it with particular benefits in a given situation. So I'll demonstrate with an example. Let's say that you're home alone, it's after school, and you're kind of bored, and you have nothing to do, right? Now, what your brain is going to look for is it's going to look for some type of solution to this scenario, right? It obviously wants something to do, so it's going to look for something to do. And then it thinks about, what if I watch porn right now? And it kind of cycles through what would happen if it did watch porn in this scenario, right? To your brain, it still sees a lot of value, a lot of benefits in porn, right? It could be like, oh yeah, it relieves boredom, it reduces stress, it's something that's really distracting and fun, very pleasurable. Your brain still believes these things based on its past experiences with porn, so it's going to make you want porn in that particular scenario because it sees it as the best path to happiness, right? So in reality, an urge is just you actively wanting porn because it will make you, or you think it will make you, the happiest in a particular situation. And the thing is that you can stop getting urges for porn, and you can actually get urges to not watch porn by just changing what you think will make you the happiest in any scenario. And that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you right now. So now that you're aware of the most dangerous lies that made you believe you're addicted to porn, I want to show you the mechanism that truly makes you feel deep down that you are addicted, and how you can reprogram your mind to get out of this trap. So the first thing is the playground effect. So the playground effect is when a parent is watching their child play at the playground, right? And the child accidentally falls and like scrapes their knee. So the child is in like some mild pain. It's nothing that serious. But then the child decides to look at his parent to see like what the parent thinks of the situation. And the parent becomes extremely shocked and terrified as if the child has like broken his leg or like is about to die, right? And then this also makes the child extremely terrified because he now thinks that this is a really serious thing. So what simply happened is that the parent has basically instigated their perception of the scenario onto the kid. Before, the kid thought, oh, it's just a harmless scratch. It's not really that big of a deal. But then the parent who was extremely terrified and shocked then made the child think that, oh no, this is a really big deal. This is extremely bad. And then the child becomes extremely scared, extremely traumatized, and then just bursts out crying. So the playground effect turns watching porn into this harmless activity you do for fun into this ultra destructive, unbearable addiction that you have to overcome. And that's simply just because you end up believing people who tell you that porn is this extremely destructive, hyper stimulating thing that has control over you. And the people who don't believe what those people say, or they just are totally ignorant to it, never struggle with porn, right? Think about like your friends or just most other people who got exposed to porn but aren't addicted to it. The only reason that they aren't addicted to it is because they never came in contact with someone who started like catastrophizing the fact that they watched porn, saying that, oh, it's this extremely addictive thing, you're never going to be able to quit or get over it, your life is ruined now, you're always going to want porn from now on, right? So these people, they never came in contact with this like destructive thinking. However, for you, which you probably did, that led to you becoming addicted because now you believe that your behavior of watching porn is extremely destructive and bad and harmful, when in reality it's simply the belief that you took on that what you're doing is extremely harmful to your life. And this ties into the placebo effect. It's really just an extension of the placebo effect, where by believing that you are addicted to porn, you actually become addicted to porn, right? Because the so whatever you really believe about porn ends up becoming true, right? For the people who believe that porn is this destructive force that has like a chokehold over them, they end up becoming addicted and they feel powerless and out of control. However, the people who believe that porn is just like a harmless activity that they do for fun in their free time, it is a harmless activity that they do for fun in their free time, simply due to the belief that they had in this. And you can probably see this in yourself. When you first started watching porn, you probably did have the perspective that it was fun and harmless. And as a result, you probably experienced it in that way, right? And like if it ever, in that mindset, if porn ever became like unenjoyable or it didn't hit the same just because of like how much you repeatedly watched it, then you would have probably stopped because it wasn't enjoyable anymore. And you were only doing it in the first place because you thought it would make you happy. But the problem is once you believe that you're addicted to it, you can't stop, right? You just think that even if it's the most destructive thing ever and there's no pleasure, no enjoyment in it, you have to just continue doing it because the addiction is forcing you to do it. So hopefully you understand that you chose to become addicted to porn. You actually brainwashed yourself into believing that you were addicted through the playground effect and the placebo effect, and you probably fed yourself the same lies that I showed you earlier in this video. And the thing is that now that you're aware of this, you can undo all of this brainwashing and false conditioning. So here are the actionable steps that I laid out so you can actually unbrainwash yourself and get to a point where you aren't even addicted to porn anymore and you can just easily quit. So the first thing you have to do is you have to begin reprogramming your mind. It's not enough to understand what I said on a surface level. You have to have like this deeper understanding of it that is almost reflexive. So the way you do that is you just have to repeatedly throughout your day catch yourself whenever you're thinking in these wrong ways, especially in the critical moments when you're about to end up watching porn or when you usually end up watching porn, right? So all of the myths I was saying earlier before, you have to just be aware and find when you're thinking in ways or patterns that support those myths. And then you simply just have to begin rethinking. You have to just start choosing different thoughts in those scenarios. And over time, right, you have to just think, okay, if I was truly a free person and I didn't struggle with porn, then how would I approach this scenario? How would I be thinking right now? If you can have that question at the top of your head, then you can very easily get out of like thinking traps and like hard scenarios and difficult challenges by simply just being self-aware and thinking as if you were already free. And that's going on to my next point. You have to see porn as a normal, harmless activity. Because like I was talking before about the placebo effect, once you drop the idea of being addicted to porn, then you simply see your use of porn as like a normal activity you do for happiness and enjoyment. And from that place, it's very easy to stop watching porn because you're simply just choosing to do it for particular benefits, which you can easily debunk and move on from. And yeah, once you do get to the point where porn feels like a normal, harmless activity, you can simply decrease the perceived benefits of porn and then increase the perceived benefits of quitting. And I have multiple videos on that, which you can check out. So you really have to like visualize, okay, if I weren't to watch porn in this scenario, what would I be doing? How would I find happiness? How would I find greater happiness that would make me actually want to not watch porn, right? And if you do all of this, then you'll literally be free from ever thinking or being an addict, and you can just quit porn. As simple as that.